Hey, all right. Hey, everyone. So I think I'm going to start doing this because I'm going to do a weekly energy reading. They're very helpful for me on what to focus on and to manage the energies that are coming up with flow and ease. That's definitely when I say flow and ease, that's tapping into your intuitive nature. That's going, I trust the universe. And when you know what's coming, it's a lot easier to adapt to it. And I can give you guys some examples. So this is a weekly energy reading. I will mention I did the full October energy reading. You can check my Instagram, my Twitter feed, or my YouTube channel, Soulful of Healing on Facebook. All those groups if you want to see the October. And this guidance about the energy is channeled from my ancestors. I tend to find the ancestors when I channel and ask questions about collective energies, collectively what we need to go through. I will ask the angels and I will also ask my spirit guides because they are very different sometimes. My ancestors, and this is unique to me, you're going to have different ancestors than I will, but my ancestors are very powerful. They're warriors, they're magicians, they manifest easily, they have a lot of sacred ancient knowledge, they've delved deep. So has my soul remembrance going into a lot of the ancient arts that exist on this planet, and because of that their advice is very practical about what to do. And I find if you only channel from like the angels, because there's a lot of angelic channelers out there, you only get more of a higher level view of things, which is accurate, right? They're not wrong, it's very, very accurate, but it's not like on the ground detailed step by steps. And I just think it's time for melanated people like me to start giving this guidance. It's time for melanated people with ancestors to give this guidance, because we have a different, more grounded viewpoint. And if you're not talking about how melanin makes a big difference, then I don't think I trust you. There are people who channel galactic beings and they don't talk about melanin. They don't talk about that stuff. And I'm like, it's suspect that you don't mention that, because right? And my ancestors are for my community, my tribe, my people, black people, melanated people. So that's who the advice is for, and I think sometimes people are talking at us, not to us, okay? So I want to talk, and my advice is bigger than just the melanated community. I just know the way I'm talking about it, that we can more easily digest what it's saying, being people who are melanated, right? But does it work for everyone? Absolutely. But we need to talk to each other the way that we talk to each other, and it's a lot more grounded and a lot more practical. So that's why I like ancestral guidance, in addition to angelic guidance. So I always get both, but now it's time for us to step forward with our voices that is just a little, I think, more grounded and practical. Because remember, angels and others haven't necessarily had an earthly existence. Our ancestors did. So they understand what is needed. So as far, and I wrote down my notes, so just let me check really quick to make sure I get it right. Okay, this week is a time to focus on your individual ascension and spiritual growth. I mentioned in the October energy reading that you can check out that it's definitely time for you to go inside and start, even if it's just like 1 minute a day of spiritual practice, asking for your higher self for guidance, asking God or Jesus. Listen, I talk to everyone, all right? Angels, ancestors, God, Jesus, like it doesn't matter. I find I do tend, depending on what the ask is for one to another, but even if it's just an ask, like God bless me this day. Even if it's just a moment to meditate before you start the day. Even if it's a 2-minute meditation section. Even if it's 1 minute of journaling. Even if it's, 10 minutes of, like now is the time for you to start sitting yourself, remove the distractions, and take at least a couple minutes for yourself. I'm not saying you have to take all day. You work up to taking that because you want to. But right now it's time to take that 3, 4, 5 minutes without the distraction, because of this ascension process, there are so many things being thrown at us. The earth is ascending, and we knew about this for the last 2 to 4 years. I knew about this ascension process in 2 years. So 2020, I'm like, oh, this is what it looks like. I knew it was coming. I didn't know what it was going to look like, but it looks like this. Okay, got you. Right? They are throwing. So in order for this earth to rise, that means the people with all these corrupt systems, with corruption in government, corruption in that, they don't want the frequency to rise. Because when we start walking around like, I am who I am divine, I am a divine being of light, I do deserve happiness, I will take happiness and create happiness. If we all walked around that strong and manifesting that we deserve it and we are a spark of God and we come from the Creator and we deserve what we want and we are worthy of what we want. If we all walked around like this, they have no power. They do not want us to ascend. And when we stay distracted by other things we think are important, buying this, doing that, running to these stores, cooking for everybody, then cleaning, all these other things, which are valid, of course, but it takes away from that moment for ourselves, they win, okay? But when we take that moment for ourselves, then when they try to throw something at us, when they try to throw the COVID at us, when they try to throw, there's brain-eating amoebas at us, when you take the moment to develop that practice, you're not going to get off-centered as easy. When you take the moment to meditate or to script out your energy or release something through your journaling, that whatever it is, it could be 1 or 2 minutes a day. When someone approaches you and triggers you, it's not as triggering. When you're not as triggered, you're more stable, calm, and centered. When you're stable, calm, and centered, they don't win. They don't keep us mired in fear. They don't keep us thinking we need them. You become more and more empowered and more strengthened, okay? Spiritually strengthened to not let these things knock you over. So when COVID and all this other stuff happens, you know that they can't get you. So now it's time to really start the practice. If you hadn't started the practice, the time is now. We are ascending at an incredibly fast rate, and if you don't start this, it's going to be harder for you to catch up because you're going to be so much mired in all the things you should have been releasing and letting go and getting assistance with and removing from you and going in to look at that issue that you haven't looked at in 20 years. The longer you take to get a practice to do that, because it's practice, you're not going to be a superwoman overnight. The longer it takes you, the harder it's going to be next month. We are ascending at a very rapid rate. You might notice that like the last 3 days, and this is the second part, going with the flow. So the next part of this is going with the flow. What does that mean? They also want you to learn how to go with the flow, and that means not being distracted. And when you're not distracted, you don't do what you think you need to, what you logically think you need to do. You do what your body and your soul tells you to. So this week, and I'm going to give you an example of doing it this week. So I had a long list of things to do, but it was obvious yesterday and the day before yesterday, I am tired physically. Now, I'm pretty sure that the physical symptoms came not because of my lifestyle, but because of the rising frequency. We get these doses of high frequency that comes in, and it really wears you down because your body is integrating. It has no choice. We all came down to this earth to ascend and help it ascend. You may not know it, but you did. I know what my mission is. My mission is to help as many people navigate this ascension process as possible in my tribe, right? Not everyone's going to resonate with me, but that's okay. I'm here to meet my people that I have a soul contract with who said, Lisa, when you do this, say it so we will find you, right? And so as we were ascending, there's going to be days where it lists the 10 things to do and you need to go to the store and it didn't get done. And the world didn't disappear. So, of course, some things you got to do, like pick up your kids. But there's other things that are taking you away from that self. And so being in the flow means I went to bed at 10. And generally, I go to bed at 1 o'clock in the morning, right? Clearly, I'm sitting here doing this live at like 11, 30, 12, right? The last 2 days, it was 10, just to show you the extreme difference. And I naturally go with the flow with my energy. But it's so hard for people out there to do it. But now is the time to start listening because there's so much going on at the higher level that if you're not aware, if you're not channeling, you're not asking, you're not seeking the knowledge, you're not going to know why you feel this way. But you don't need to know why if you're not distracted, if you have this spiritual practice, if you're going in because something's going to tell you when you took that 3 minutes, and that's all it takes a day to meditate. There's something that might tell you, you know what, I think I'm just going to take it easy today. I know I had a long list. But when you clear the distraction, that higher guidance and collective wisdom comes right in and right through. So what we need to focus on is your own spiritual practice. You need to do it now. It's just going to get harder later on, especially because if it's like building and building, that's just more for you to release. And I'd rather you've taken the last month or 2 months or 3 months or 6 years to release it, not trying to rush and do it all at once because you're going to feel heavy. You're going to be physically fatigued. It's going to be mentally triggering, and you're going to have a lot, right? So even if you do the small steps now, it means you'll be able to handle the bigger waves in this future. And we're not even going to get to December 21st, 2020, okay? We're not even going to get to that. We'll do that on another live. So, so it is starting your practice, getting very serious about it, and 2, going with the flow. But when you get that less distracted, you will be prompted to do this. So this is my ancestral guidance and wisdom. I love my ancestors. So everybody's ancestor is very different. When you do your journey to talk to yours, you'll find out what you're descendant from. I embody my ancestors, okay? And what that means is they're warriors. I'm a warrior because I fight. I fight with my words. I fight with my fists. I fight with my energy. Like, I don't play. And you can listen to me and be like, oh, she's not, like, trust and believe a lot of people have felt that way, right? And learn, I am pure fight, pure bravery. I will go in there. I will take any sling. That is me, right? And you need to know what you're descended from. My ancestors are also very practical. They're very much knowledgeable in manifestation techniques. You know, I was always really good at manifesting, and I'm even better now, right? But, you know, and then when I speak to my ancestors, I mean, you know, your line did this. Maybe your line was someone where it was scholarly. Maybe it was like running things and managing things. Mine was being a warrior. It's actually, if you go to Kemet, it's actually, they had a name for it. It's Hekasa, and it meant basically protector warrior. It's like a protector. It's like a warrior mage, but it was like for protection. So like calling the mages to protect us. That is my lineage. If you go back to Kemet, that is my ancestry. That is who I embody. So when I ask them for advice on what to do, they give me practical freaking advice. And they are like, look, let that in, because you took a moment to let it in. Tap into that divine source. Again, I'm going to repeat, I want to start doing this with the ancestral realm because our ancestors are melanated. Our ancestors are of this earth. Our ancestors had an earthly experience, whereas some of these galactic beings and archangels that you can go channel for the energy reading, they have not. And so because of that, they're going to have practical advice. They're going to have advice that me as a melanated person and you as a melanated person, because that's generally who I tend to attract to my tribe, although sometimes you're not. That is, that's what's going to come through. And I tell you this just so you understand. I'm going to have a certain twinge to it, just like someone who is more of a lover and more angelic in their history. They're going to have maybe a softer approach. But I feel our community and the people I tend to attract are other warrior spirits and tribe who are very no nonsense, very mission oriented. So giving it to you in these words where it's like, oh, this is the task, this is the mission. That is how we think. We are warriors. We are generals. We are commanders. We are, you know what I mean? Like, that is how we think, and that is who I tend to attract. So it is nice to, I think, have this contrast of guidance that is just the way we think and talk, like mission oriented, small doses. The mission's critical. We're going to get it. We're going to win. We're not defeat's not for us. We're warriors. I mean, and that's the tribe that I attract. So I'm actually really enjoying this. I'm going to do this, try to do this every week. Definitely going to try to do a monthly, and I just want you guys to see what the difference is when you channel your guidance from your ancestors versus the other realms. You know, there's realms like there's dragon realms, you know, and that's going to be super no nonsense and a little like my ancestors love me and humans and they want us to ascend, but it's a little bit more no nonsense than if I channeled from the fairies who really don't like how obtuse they feel humans are in this experience, and they're not compassionate at all. So they're they care, like, and you'll find a few who want to help, but their guidance is different too, because so everyone has a different level of compassion they have for us, a level of tolerance, and a level of what they want, how they're going to present the information. I'm loving the ancestral realm. So for you guys out there, when you take the time to center yourself and get your practice where you can channel and hear your ancestors, and FYI, that's been developed over some years, but every day just showing up going, what's the guidance? What's the guidance? And at first it was like speak. And then it was like speak today. Then it, you know, so and then it built on each other. But every day I showed up that connection to be able to hear on that higher plane got deeper and deeper. So what I would love is one day for all of you guys with your ancestral who is melanated, or even if you're not melanated, but you're in my tribe, because some of you guys are not melanated, but you're in my tribe. You're a warrior too, and you're here to complete the mission. I would love to hear what you guys have to say and what you guys have to do, what your ancestral guidance is, because when you start taking this different tapestry of ancestral guidance, all of a sudden I just feel like it's just so much more direct about like what our next steps are. And I want to hear about your ancestral guidance as well as I hear mine. Yeah. So that's who I tend to attract. That's my tribe. Of course, I'm inclusive of anyone. This works for everyone. It's just, there's a certain look to my tribe. Okay. Picture the Black Panther movie. That's the majority, but I'd say that's about 85%, 80%. Other 20%, I feel they were probably in my tribe and looked like me at one point, but in this life they chose a different non-melanated skin because they had their own mission to complete with people. So I hope that was helpful. Leave your thoughts below in the comments. And as far as ancestral guidance, I have a very powerful ancestral trauma healing video on my YouTube channel, Lisa Soulful of Healing. I would highly recommend it. When I did that healing was the first time I could feel my ancestors. And when I asked them what happened, they said because of the trauma, they weren't able to step forward. But they did during that healing session. And I've had other people do it as well. And they're like, oh my God, for the first time, my ancestors spoke to me. And they're here to help us. But if we don't do the healing, we don't always get to hear. Some people are at a higher awareness and they don't have as much trauma in their background. So it's easier for them to hear their ancestors. But some of us need to do some work. I'm more than happy to do work like that on behalf of my ancestors because they have been nothing but amazing. So when I ask my ancestors things, it's like, hey, I want to manifest even more, faster. And they're like, all right. And they're taking me through all this ancient knowledge, like sacred geometry, going into the Mayan theology, right? Like they're taking me into the Kundalini, and like I do one and I'm like, what's next? They're like, okay. And then I'm like, what's next? Like, okay. They are out so many different things and lost knowledge that is now here, but it's just lost. It's not mainstream. And I'm just like, oh my God, like this is right here. So yes, I take my guidance from angels and archangels, angels, ancestors, Jesus, God, dragons, fairies. I know that sounds crazy, but like if angels are real, you got to understand everything's real. Okay. Spirits are real. Everything's real. Everything you've seen in the movies real. It's just some of us have done the work so we can actually hear, see, communicate if we choose. I am a light being. I have a very high vibration. I generally only tend to speak with people of the highest integrity, highest compassion, and the highest good for me. And that's specifically the intention I hold every time I do a channeling session. So don't worry. So yeah, I might say all these things, but they're going to be of the highest good. So I want to hear yours one day, and I'd love to hear your ancestral wisdom. I just say if you do it, just tell, let people know what your lineage is so they know where you're coming from, right? I'm a warrior and I'm a protector mage, so it's going to be focused in that light because that's what my lineage, my ancestry, and my soul remembrance is, right? But if you're more of a scholar or a worker or farmer, right? Or, very green and earthy, you should, just let us know so that we know, okay, so your talents lie in this direction. So when it comes to that, you're definitely gonna be good. But like I said, mine are warriors, mine are great manifestors. So there's gonna be very practical, very do this. We're on a mission. Let's get it done. I love you. Okay, and they do. They're pretty loving. They're amazingly loving. They're all Black women. And they have dreads too. So when I got my dreads at 18 and now I see my ancestors, I'm like, oh, I just sort of was like, it's time to do it. But that's ancestral, okay? That is in my spirit. And I'm just, I love the fact that I developed this relationship. So you can go to Lisa Soulful of Healing, do your own ancestral trauma healing. They step forward, and pretty much anyone does it. That will be the first time that if you have not yet met your ancestors, they will step forward for it. It's very powerful. So just be ready and in a quiet, calm place. You might know, it just is what it is. So thank you guys so much. Hope this was helpful. But yes, it's all about starting your practice or getting deeper in your practice and going with the flow right now. Because, like I said, you don't need to know what's happening if you listen to spirit, because it'll guide you to what is optimal. But that takes not being distracted. All right, guys, I'm going to finish this up. Please hit the like or subscribe button. Leave your comments below on how you like ancestral guidance, or what do you think of the energy reading. Have you already resonated with this? I want to do this more because I just think we need a diverse set of channeled messages from a different perspective. So all these messages I channel in meditation before we do this, to get what the collective and my own personal items are. So thank you so much. All right. Hey, everyone. So I think I'm going to start doing